Hello, folks. Back for another episode of Splash Talk. I have no idea what episode it is, but it's been a little bit of time, and I had a moment, which is almost 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I am. It's September the 30th, 2023. So, I have had a certain conversation with several people over the last few weeks and even through the years. And this is what this episode or podcast or whatever you want to call it is going to be about. It won't be real long. I know some of them has been pretty long because I get rambling and things like that. So anyway, I've heard people say, and if you've heard my other podcasts, I can't really remember what I've even said in some of them, but what I did say is true. Whatever it is, if it incriminates me, it is what it is. Anyway, I guess that's where you put an LOL at. I don't know. Some people have the misconception, well, as I was going to say in the other episodes, you folks know that I played music my whole life. I played drums, and then towards the end, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, I've dabbled in electric and acoustic guitar, which is pretty much the same, except you gotta play an acoustic. You gotta manhandle that thing like a bear. Strings do not bend very easy, and it's pretty much a chord kind of thing. Anyway, people have said, over that time period that as far as dating goes, why are you not with someone? What's the deal? Well, it's not, when you reach a certain age, you kind of get tired of fooling with the juvenile antics. And I'm not saying that this is 100% of the opposite sex by any means. There's a lot of good people out there. But when you get burned, you kind of withdraw. And I don't really go places. I can't stand going to Walmart. And I've been in Walmart over the last 4 weeks, month, what have you, more than I have been in probably 2 years. I just do what I think some, or maybe a lot of people do, is just place the order and then go up there and pick it up. And it's not like it's 50 different cart loads. I usually spend about $50, maybe $55, and get a jar of peanut butter. So, I don't get out. If I got out, then things would be a little different. They'd probably have to use tranquilizers if I got out. So, the whole music thing. People think because you are on a stage, big, small, medium, festival size, big clubs, small clubs, hole in the wall, doesn't matter. It's, for some of us, and I think more so than not, this is what happens. People think you go play, you meet people, you learn about life, people out in the parking lot doing what people do in the parking lot, at break time or what have you. And I don't mean people in the parking lot having sex, even though I think I've seen that a couple of times. I might have been looking in my rear view mirror. Actually, I did see 2 people having sex in a guy's bathroom, and they were drunk as hell. I won't go in much more detail than that. just because well, why? Anyway, so I really didn't meet people, and when you kind of do the same circuit in 5, 6 different counties, what have you, it really is the same bunch of people every weekend. And since COVID hit, some bands have dissolved, and there's been some other bands that's come out, or formed, I should say. But as I said, with going in these clubs and bars and all that, it's the same people drinking the same booze, doing the same stuff, talking the same shit. It's no different with the musicians. It's the same musicians with the same problems. Whether it's marital problems, drug problems, money problems, what have you, you name it. And I'm not saying I'm exempt from that. Everyone has money problems, drug issues in one way or another, cigarettes, caffeine, what have you. Yeah, I'm trying to make light of it, but I mean, it is true. So they think, when you show off on stage, that you're more of an extrovert. And you probably know where this is going by now. I was never an extrovert. I was always an introvert. Even in high school, I never said much. I kind of just smiled and mind my own business, and just, I had my friends that I hung out with, but it was a pretty tight group. I didn't approach women. I didn't approach girls in high school. It's always just been one of them things. And it's even rougher now because women are dudes. So, so when I'd play gigs, as I said 2 other times, I'm trying to stay on track here, so I'm repeat myself. It's the same people. And when I was playing music at a younger age, like 20 and stuff, in the local, like as they say, the critter circuit, the Moose, the Eagles, I don't know, there's some other ones in there, Elks, AMVETs, BFWs, there's a few festivals there, there's one, maybe 2 amphitheater gigs there, there's a big bar, maybe 2 different big bars in that time period. But with those being exempt, because at that time period, I was like 25. It was in the early to mid 90s, and people do this all the time now. It's like, we got a gig, we're playing X and X place or whatever, and it's a festival run through a big ass PA. It's just how things are done now, and these dive bars, as I mentioned. And not all of them. The AMVETs are usually pretty nice in comparison. Things are just done differently. And there's some other bars that have popped up that I haven't even been to. I haven't even seen a band in 3 years. Again, why? I have no interest. Playing drums was very fun for me because I did it since I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't know, all the way up. By the time I could legally get into a bar and play with a band, I was already burnt out. I was over it. And then you're playing 3 nights every weekend. 3 nights, and sometimes it would be 4 nights. Not a lot, but there would be a handful of those 4-nighters, sometimes 2 in one day, over a year's time. So, and these are, a lot of these people are people that you even went to school with. They're hanging around in these bars, the same damn people. So it's like, hey, you want to go to a family? Jesus, you want to go to a high school reunion? Well, hell no. I was seeing them every damn weekend, laying in there puking on themselves and trying to get laid, and which, ain't nothing wrong with that, but I come from a different kind of, I don't know if it's point of view, but when I played, I always played as if I was playing to a room of 25,000 people. I was always putting on a show. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And of course, being a drummer, timekeeping and using dynamics, working with the other musicians, blah blah blah. That always came easier to me because I think that was my roots. I was taught dynamics. I was taught to not fill every hole. A lot of times, if you have a good bass player, a drummer can't do anything. I mean, he can. It's going to sound horrible. But if that bass player is carrying, that kind of undertow, where the drums are boom, bang, that bass player, he's carrying that melody. And when you're only playing roots and fifths and simple little patterns, I come from the era, again, because my dad taught me and he played into the 60s and 70s, 80s on up. I was taught to be a dance drummer. You don't copy the album. If you copy the album, the tempo is going to be too damn slow. And a lot of times, depending on what you're playing, but when you're talking about 90s country, most of it can be played like the record. The tempo is going to have to be picked up slightly because that whole line dancing thing. But when people learn everything like the record, I don't look down my nose at them by any means, but I think it's more of a crutch because they don't understand how that song is put together. They're up there to be the guy that I was. They're up there to be that rock star. And if I copy the album, then I really don't have to learn my instrument. And I get it, man, I get it. Everybody wants to hear it like the album. They want to hear it the same tempo and everything else, but when you play it the same tempo, they look at you because nobody can dance to it. It's too damn slow. And sometimes you gotta put a little ghost stroke in there on that snare or a little something to pep it up or give you that illusion that you're pepping it up. Some people just want to hang to that album, and it's just like people don't dance like they used to. Unless you can play a 15-second song and they can do some TikTok dance to it. I have seen a dance floor look at a band. They don't know what the hell to do with it. And it's nothing. It's like Mustang Sally and some Motown stuff. How the hell can you not dance to it? But again, that goes around the bass player. If the bass player is really, digging in and running it and making it danceable, the drummer ain't got nothing to do but boom, pop, boom, pop. If he does anything else, it's cluttered and it'll turn into a train wreck. So anyway, I got derailed, as I do. So anyway, I always thought that, I played with other musicians, I interacted with them, and when it come time in a song, if somebody wanted to, if you needed to stretch a song a little bit, due to time or whatever, then you went in, you took 2 guitar solos or 3 or whatever, or the organ players over there beating on that damn Hammond B3 or whatever. It is what it is. But when I went on stage, whether it was for one person or 20,000, which I never played to 20,000, but I mean, that was always my perception. And again, I grew up, my teen years was late 80s, early 90s. That's what was going on in the music I listened to. You twirled your sticks, you hit cymbals backwards, and then come down and hit them again. You cymbal choke with one hand. You entertain people along with playing the song correctly. And you can take that for what it's worth. I already went on the rant. Songs need to be like the album. If you got to change the key, I get that. I don't sing. I can't sing. I never could sing. So I get, change the key to whatever it is. That lead singer has got to be in control of the whole band when it comes to things like that. And even picking song choices. He's the dude that's got to sing that shit. You can take a bass, you can take a guitar, cello, I don't know, whatever. And you can play a G chord, a G note. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 110. It's going to sound like a G note. But when, vocal cords aren't like that. People get older and things happen, and people can't sing like they used to. So people need to drop these songs down. I'd rather see that than them lip syncing. I don't really much care about backing tracks depending on what it is. And again, the audience needs to know this because I've talked about this before. But drop the key down. I don't give a damn if you have to drop it down, 2 or 3 steps and the bass player and guitar player strings look like spaghetti. Use a heavier gauge, use a higher tension, whatever it takes. So anyway, we're at 16 minutes. Let me get to the point of this. So, when I would go, or the band would go on break, I would sit by myself because I was an introvert. I was shy. I didn't talk to even guys, about, anything. Did you see that car wreck down the street? I wouldn't talk to anyone. Less girls. And people always thought that I thought I was better than what... what am I trying to say? People always thought that I was stuck up or what have you. And it was completely the opposite. How I was on stage wasn't how I was for the most part in life. I was very quiet. I was withdrawn. And I still, for the most part, am. My anxiety gets to me, and I say and do stupid shit. Even at 50 years old, anxiety can be a bitch. But, I would get more nervous playing in front of 5 people than I would 500 or 1,500. It was like the bigger the crowd, the more I settled in. And again, like I said, I've never played to 20,000 people, but I played to 1,000 and a little over. And when you're in a club and you cram that many people in there, when you look out, one thing, the lights are in your eyes, a lot. They usually hang lights behind the drummer and off to the side and kind of shoot it down to the middle of the stage, anymore. But, held back 30 years ago, the shit was hanging right over top of you or right in front of you or to the left or right of the stage. And you couldn't see shit, especially if you went into a club and they already had lights there. I mean, they stuck them right in your face. It wasn't off to the side. It was right in your face, and they always wanted to turn them on. So you can't see anything. So, when you play to a bigger bunch of people, you see a couple rows, or it just looks like a dance floor with skin. You can't differentiate the people. But maybe the lead singer can because he's out front. And his ego's even farther. So, I did go off on things that most people probably wouldn't understand unless you're a musician. But I don't know. Things are different anymore. So, the point of all of this is just because you see people on stage, I don't care, again, who it is. If you're Taylor Swift, you're Taylor Swift. And her band is her band. It's not like Steely Dan or the Eagles, where when you say those names, you're expecting to see Skunk Baxter on guitar, or Michael McDonald, with his mouth full of marbles. Steely Dan, Donald Fagen. You expect to see these people, but with Taylor Swift, it's about her. And all those people behind her, yeah, she'll say, oh, it's my band, I love them and all this. And maybe she does. Maybe she does, I don't care. But those people are hired guns. They are paid salary. Oh, weekly, I would assume. I wouldn't say they'd be paid monthly. Because tours can shut down immediately. I mean, look at what happened to Aerosmith. They've got a full scale, peace out, they're done, farewell thing. Steven Tyler's like 5-6 shows in or something. Vocal cords take a shit on him. And he cancels the rest of the dates for this year. And says, hopefully, they'll be back after rest and all of this stuff. If you got tickets to that show, folks, I would get them. I would get your refund. I'm just telling you. You don't even have to take my word for it. Look what happened to all these other bands. I think somebody said something about Bruce Springsteen. He's got stomach issues or something. And charging, $3,000 to $5,000 for these tickets. And, I'll give him one thing. The dude plays for 3 hours. I have never paid a dime to see Bruce Springsteen, nor would I. I don't like him. Actually, you should really look up the meaning of Born in the USA. You think it's kind of a rally song and yeah, man, I was born in the USA. That is not what that means at all. And I'm not a big fan of listening to words. There's a few songs, but I don't know words to songs. I listen to that melody first. I listen to those big hooks. I listen, melodic rock, melodic pop. Pop has always been my area because the drummer and the bass player, even the rhythm guitar player, are very tight and very syncopated. And anymore, they use a lot of those linear patterns on drumming. And they're as simple as can be, man. But they sound so complicated. But they're so simple. It's like right on the snare, left on the first tom, right on the snare, left on the snare, kick, floor tom. And then you put it all together and it sounds like this monstrous thing. They're not doing anything. You can almost make up your own shit. No, I'm not saying it's not cool. Because, it really sounds badass. Eric Hernandez, the drummer for Bruno Mars, which is his brother. I'm sure you knew that. But that dude's a monster. And so is Todd Sucherman. But anyway, enough of that. So, out of 23 minutes here, I probably told you about 5 minutes of what I really wanted this to be about. As far as, just because people are on stage doesn't mean that they have others throwing themselves at them. Again, if you're kind of a introvert, you come off as an asshole because you don't talk to people. But if people come up to you and talk, you'll talk all day long, for the most part. But you're just not, they have to initiate that. So, I guess that's the end of it. I was going to recap, but I've run my mouth so damn much. I don't even. Yeah, it's pretty scattered, but I got my point across. And I have some more podcasts ready to go out. I've got to put them through the editing software and bring down the vocal. Good God, bring down the audio so it's not so boomy, and EQ it a little bit. Other than that, that's all I do. And the thing is, you'll notice with these podcasts that I do, you can tell it kind of gets boomy, and then it kind of gets far away. Well, when I get into it, I get closer to the mic. And I got 2 pop screens on this thing. And it's not one of those Shure SBs. I mean, they're like $400, $500, $600. Who the hell can afford that? But anyway, this thing works fantastic. It's what the hell is the Hyper X Cast, whatever the hell it is. It works fine for me. So I'll try to get another podcast out here in 4 or 5 days. So that is all I got for you folks. Thanks for listening. I am sitting in a somewhat dark room looking at a computer screen that's burning my eyeballs out of the socket because I got nothing to look at. With video, it was, when I was doing my YouTube channel, which a lot of the podcasts do go over to my YouTube channel, which is Pancake Punch. But most of this stuff is it's all uploaded to Spotify for podcasters, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, I believe. So anyway, thanks for joining me, folks. This has been another rambling, babbling episode with yours truly, Jason Neal on Splash Talk. Thank you, folks, for being here. I'll talk to you later.